In this GlassTrax training video, I'll be covering how to create insulated units and laminated glass within the program. I'll be covering how to set those items up manually, as well as how to enter those in while you are doing an order on the fly. So to set up an item such as an IG or a LAMI through the system here, you're going to come to the inventory control portion and go to the items screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new one here, and as an example I'm going to start with a LAMI, and I'm just going to call this a 1/4 inch LAMI clear. And I can go ahead and give it a name, and I'm going to put it in my LAMI category, and this is really an 1/8 inch over an 1/8 inch. That pop-up is just saying, do you want to add that weight calculation to the square foot? So I'm just saying yes to that. And now I'm going to say, what's my default spacer type? Now, if I back up a little bit, it's a little confusing because it says spacer. This was originally built for IG, but we also use it for laminated. So you're able to come in here and you can set up your spacers, and I say that with an air quote because in this case it's an inner layer. And I can set up any kind of spacer or inner layer that I'd like. You can see I've got PBB, I can do an 060, whatever you are going to be using, your different types of inner layer. And you can use that as the inner layer here for your default. Once I've got that set up, I can come and I can do my pricing. I can set up my raw items if I'd like to. For example, if this is just a 1/4 clear over 1/4 clear and I'm laminating in-house, I could come to the raw items and I could say, hey, this is going to be a 1/4 clear over a 1/4 clear, and save that. And now it knows if I'm going to laminate this in-house, it's going to burn that 1/4 clear for inventory purposes. So that's as easy as it is to set up a laminated glass in GlassTrax. Now it's very similar for I'm going to go ahead and save this here. It's fine. We'll go ahead and exit that. It's very similar for IG units. The thing that you might want to do a little bit differently for IG. So for example, let's say I'm doing an 1/8 inch clear tempered over an 1/8 inch clear tempered. And I'm going to go ahead and call this 1/8 inch clear temp unit. Okay, something like that, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to put this in my insulated department here, and I'm going to say it's an 1/8 inch. Again, there's the weight calculation over an 1/8 inch. Now in this case, let's say I want to have the freedom to choose my default spacer. Sometimes the customer is going to want to change it up, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave that default spacer blank. That is okay for us. You can actually set that up, and I could be done with this, and I can save it and be done. Some other things similar to other item setup, you might want to consider your optimization codes. This is your outboard, inboard, or your outside, your inside. If it's a triple, outside, center, inside, you can do it down here as well. So something to consider when you're building this up is how much do I want to have this specified? Do I want it to have a default thickness every time? We have an overall default overall thickness that I can set up and say this is always going to be a 1/2 inch overall, which means I'm going to need another 1/4 inch spacer every time. Or you can again leave that blank and fill that in on the sales order, which I'll show you in just a moment. So it's fairly simple to build IG units and laminated glass on the fly from the item maintenance portion. But a lot of times you don't want to back out of a quote or an order in order to build this product and then go back into the quote or order in order to sell it or quote it out to a customer. So in those situations, what you can do is you're going to want to make sure, let me exit out of this again. You're going to want to make sure that you have feature 2802 set up correctly. That's in miscellaneous, setup miscellaneous feature initialization. And you're going to want to enable this to show your outside, center, inside. So this OCI, yes, enable outside, center, inside functionality. You can give it names. Do you want to see outside, center, inside, or do you want to see outside, inside, and mono, depending on if you're going to ever do triple units. And you go ahead and give it a name. Some people call it outboard, inboard. I call it outside, center, inside here. Once you've got that set up, you can go to your sales order screen, and I'll go ahead real quick through this header portion and jump down to the detail. And once I have that feature turned on, this outside, center, inside appears right here, or whatever you've captioned that in the feature. This allows me to build insulated units or lamis on the fly that don't currently exist in GlassTrax. So for example, if I want to do something that I've never thrown together before, it doesn't make a ton of sense, I'll say, hey, let's do this. Let's do a quarter clear over an 1/8 inch clear. And it combines those two now, and it created a brand new product for you just with that tab or enter. I can come down here now and I can say, well, we're doing one piece and we're doing a 36 1/4 by 44 1/2. And I can set my overall thickness. If this is an insulated unit, let's say I want it to be half an inch right here. It's going to calculate and say, okay, well, you need an 1/8 inch spacer then. Or you can, if I'm doing this correctly, okay, however you want to give your little airspace there, you can change that. And then you can pick your spacer. And in this case, I'll just do a black spacer right there. And now I'm done. That's a brand new product that I didn't have to go to the item screen to create. It's just in the system now. Okay, and it's very similar with the laminated units. Again, you don't have to have an overall thickness or a spacer type defined because you can put those in on the fly. The same thing goes with laminated units. You don't have to have your overall thickness, even though most people will set your laminated inner layers to be a 1/16 of an inch on that spacer screen, so that it'll default every time and say, oh, well, we know this is a 1/16 of an inch every time we put it in. So that's how you build through the inventory item screen, as well as how you can do it on the fly through the order entry screen. This is a pretty simple process, but we're happy to help out. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to support in any way we can. The support email is glasstraxtech@kssco.com.